Hello, I'm Infamous Fear. What's that? It's time for Infamous Queer!
Pride, 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 darling, darling, pride, pride 95!
Now you may have noticed that the films I review tend not to be particularly explicit. I've only had to put censor bars on 5 episodes so far, whereas other reviewers have to put one on practically every scene. But today I'll be dusting off those black boxes because we're going to look at a film infamous for its aggressive leather-clad sexuality. This is Cruising.
Cruising is made for love. I love it when we're cruising together.
Ah yes, Cruising. The movie was directed by William Friedkin, who 10 years earlier had directed notable queer film The Boys in the Band, which holds 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Cruising was based on a book written about a serial killer who targeted gay men, written by one Gerald Walker, a New York Times reporter. You may have heard of this particular movie, since when it was in production in the late 1970s, the LGBT community were in uproar about how it represented gay people, doing their best to interrupt the filming by blasting sirens, playing loud music, and reflecting light with mirrors from rooftops. Cruising represents a horrible alternate reality populated almost solely by Al Pacino lookalikes and acres upon acres of leather bars. This movie is what it would be like if the 80s flopped out its dick and hit you square in the face with it. So with that delightful image cemented in your mind, let's begin the film! We open with some ominous cruising music as 2 sailors roll their way across the Hudson River, only to encounter a severed hand waving them a jaunty hello from the water. We cut to the pathology lab, where we are informed that the police can't classify the wave of incoming body parts as homicides because they haven't gotten an entire corpse yet.
We got a hand here. If we can get a fingerprint, we can make this a homicide.
All right. You give me a cause of death.
I can't give you the cause of death from this, but it's obvious it's not a suicide and it's not a natural.
Doc, you know I can't prosecute a homicide without a cause of death. That means I'd have to go out and find the rest of the body.
But forget about that, because right now it's time to watch 2 officers with porn stashes driving around a gay beat. Naturally, they stop to apprehend some gender-ambiguous prostitutes. Oh, did I say apprehend? I meant coerce into performing oral sex.
Hey, look, you're on my corner again, shithead. You know what that means? Get in the car.
Come up here. I want to show you my nightstick. Get up here.
Luckily, this bit of sexual assault is interrupted by the appearance of someone in a leather jacket. Yes! Glenn Hughes from The Village People is here! Mr. Creepy Sunglasses picks up a dude, and I'm not sure why he wears his sunglasses at night because it's got to be damned hard to see. The 2 men go back to a house, and apparently gay guys can take off each other's pants without first removing their shoes. Who knew? They also like to feel each other's calves. Naturally, Mr. Creepy Sunglasses doesn't enjoy any sexual encounter unless it isn't consensual. The guy consented? Better make him not consent!
Now I'm afraid.
Yeah. Lie down. Turn over. I said, turn over.
What are you gonna do?
I know what I have to do.
And now, the most hilarious stabbing scene since Norman Bates decided to windmill someone to death in the shower.
Please.
You made me do that.
But enough of that, it's time for Pathology 101, where we learn that people in the 80s had no knowledge of forensic pathology, presumably because there weren't any TV shows about it yet.
We found semen, but I can't identify it.
What do you mean?
A spermia.
In English.
Why didn't he understand the pathologist? I would have thought that was pretty obvious.
No sperm. Your killer's shooting blanks. His semen tested positively, but it doesn't have any sperm in it.
And then the amazing gender hipster turns up to give the police information, in exchange for protection from Officer Dick and his rampant sexual harassment.
I gotta talk to you. Alone.
Okay.
I need a favor, man. These 2 cops working out at 6th Precinct, they've been leaning on me.
Who are they?
I think one guy's name is Simone or something like that. The other guy is Jerry something or whatever. They're partners, a couple of real fucking hard-ons. And they run me the other night, and this guy Simone, he made me give him head right in his radio car.
Take your foot off the table. You're full of shit.
I swear to Christ.
How do you know they're cops?
I need this favor, man.
You want to put on a wire?
I'll take you down to Internal Affairs. We'll draw up a complaint.
Listen to what I'm saying. These guys are bad dudes.
Oh no, not bad dudes. Well, that will come in handy when they have to rescue the president. Then Al Pacino shows up and is told he needs to go undercover to find the serial killer. Why Al specifically?
Well, frankly, all of the victims appear to be the same physical type, which is to say, they all look like you.
Okay, fair enough. The victims are all in the same age range with dark hair and eyes, so he's an ideal choice.
They all look like you.
Something tells me there's more to this than simple phenotypes. But simply looking the part isn't enough for this job. No! Al Pacino needs to dive headfirst into the world of...
Heavy leather. S&M. It's a world unto itself.
Couldn't have put it better myself. So I'm beginning to understand why gay groups protested the making of this movie. It's nothing more than an excuse to show an ever-advancing freak show of guys and assless chaps. Imagine being gay in 1980 and the only mainstream movie featuring gay dudes released that year is some kind of perverted parade of sex maniacs. Well, yes, but will you kindly leave and let me continue reviewing this perverted parade of sex maniacs? We then see Al Pacino going undercover, which he accomplishes by wearing a singlet on the outside of his shirt. Who the hell does that? Al Pacino unpacks his secret leather clothing and flicks through some gay porn, only to be interrupted by a guy I'm going to call Richard Simmons. Richard Simmons talks about the killer terrorising the neighbourhood. However, this isn't interesting enough for the audience, so back to the perverted parade of sex maniacs. Al goes into a shop and asks about the handkerchief code. I'll take it from here, shall I? The general idea behind the handkerchief code is that different colours symbolise different fetishes or sexual acts. Placing the handkerchief in the left pocket symbolises giving or administering the act, and placing the handkerchief in the right pocket indicates preference for receiving the act. Since Al's a complete idiot, he buys a handkerchief that indicates that he likes pissing on people, and surprise, surprise, he's approached by a guy with a corresponding handkerchief. Serves you right for trying to use a secret code you don't even understand.
You into water sports?
No, I like to watch.
Later.
Yeah.
If you like to watch, take that hanky out of your pocket, asshole.
They hit your sister, they ate the leftovers of a meal you were saving for lunch the next day, they think Nickelback is good. Oh, what do you know? Not knowing the handkerchief code isn't in here. Must work out and look gayer. Yeah! We then see a cruising spot which looks more like the kind of place where the famous five hang out to catch smugglers. We are then told something about Tommy the Joker, but I don't really think it's important.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You trying to tell me you don't know who Tommy the Joker is?
Now Al is wearing makeup? Oh wait, that wasn't Al Pacino at all.
They all look like you.
Oh my god! A city of Al Pacino lookalikes! Then the evil cruising music plays again, and we find out that the killer has a snappy catchphrase.
I'm here. You're here. I'm waiting for you.
Wow, the stabbing turned that guy's vision into an acid trip. And now back to Al, who has... Wait, how the hell is he allowed to see his wife? I thought he was undercover! And while Al is spending all that time with his wife, Mr. Creepy Sunglasses is still out there, slipping knives in dead men like dicks. Never say that again. Well, it's not as if I'm exponentially less classy than the people who wrote this headline. Stay classy, newspapers of the day. Stay classy. Richard Simmons talks about his boyfriend. Watch out, Al. The evil cruising music is playing. However, it's been almost, 5 minutes since we last saw a gay bar, so it's time we saw one again. This is boring. So boring. If any movie is going to make you feel sick of gay bars, it's this. This one, however, is different. It's full of cops. Or at least people dressed like cops. We then see an Al Pacino lookalike who I will call Pretty Pacino. Apparently...
He's a bad dude.
We're not in a gay bar for long, though. Sudden heterosexuality! Ouch! That happened so fast I got sexuality whiplash! While Al is presumably still having sex with his wife for hours and hours and hours and hours, we see two successful arty gay guys at a fashion shop. One of them stops to pick up some dudes because, that's what gay guys do. Like, all the time. Since all of that horrible, horrible music is really getting them in the mood, One of the guys decides to go and watch some porn in the convenient coin-operated porn booth that they just happen to have in this bar. But oh no, the guy that he chose to watch porn with was none other than Mr. Creepy Sunglasses. He gets stabbed. What a surprise.
You made me do that.
Ugh, this is worse than The Watcher. I wish I were watching that instead. So now Al Pacino is wearing sunglasses, making him indistinguishable from Mr. Creepy Sunglasses. God damn it, William Friedkin! Why do you have to make my job so hard? Oh, don't tell me that the twist is going to be that Al Pacino was the killer all along. No, I think he's just wearing sunglasses. So Al Pacino's boss is told to clear up the case, and since it's been 3 minutes since we last saw a leather-clad ass, we then cut to another gay bar and... Holy shit! This cannot be anything other than deliberate. Al Pacino and 2 lookalikes in the same frame at once? Did they clone this guy for the movie? Margaret and Jimmy and Liquid Sky looked less like one another than these guys do, and they were played by the same actor.
They all look like you.
And now, the ultimate in explicit content, which has the bonus of being shot in a way which means that I don't have to censor anything. Yes, this is it, the first fisting scene in Infamous Queer! But what about that bad dude, Pretty Pacino? Well, Al tries to impress him with his dancing, but unfortunately it's the worst dancing in a movie about gay serial killers since The Watcher. It's seizure-inducing. In fact, I think it just is a seizure. Strangely, Pretty Pacino was not impressed. Meanwhile, Al's boss meets with DaVinci, the amazing prostitute. DaVinci gives him some more tips about the killer's stupid catchphrase.
Well, I got something else.
What?
You know that guy that was killed up at the Ramble?
Yeah?
A couple of my friends were up there that night, and they said they heard singing.
Singing?
Yeah, a nursery rhyme like, who's here, we're here, something like that.
The police are having a steak, and they remember that all the victims were stabbed with steak knives. Pretty Pacino works as a waiter in the restaurant, so he's the killer!
Your man's carrying this.
Let's get out of here. What the hell is this?
Get your ass in here! Get your hands on! What's going on? Give me a hand. What's your name? I said get your hand!
What are you doing here?
Turn around. Get your hands off!
Did he try anything? No. Did he show you his knife? No.
They take him and Al to the police station and start interrogating them both when...
This guy cruised me. I didn't even know him. I didn't even know his name. Well, he got me to go up to his room with him. That's bullshit. Is that right?
I told you it was my room. That's all I'm gonna tell you. I want to see it.
Here. Strangely, although this is the most bizarre thing in the movie, it's actually based on fact. What? Every police branch employed their own version of the naked cowboy solely for the purposes of beating people up? No, really, the primary reason this approach was used is because it's ridiculous. Who'd believe you if you said you got beaten up at the police station by a guy wearing only a jockstrap and a cowboy hat? No one, that's who!
Who is that guy?
I wonder whether the police would fight over who had to be the undies guy that day.
Ugh, this is the 3rd time this week I've had to be the undies guy. Yeah, but I can't be the undies guy this week. It's too cold at this time of year.
Anyway, they quickly ascertain that Pretty Pacino wasn't the killer because he isn't infertile.
You got nothing. He's the wrong guy.
Time for Al to have another conjugal visit. His lady friend worries that he's turned gay.
Why don't you want me anymore?
I'm tired. That's all.
I just can't be with a man who drinks juice straight out of the bottle. It turns out that Al Pacino is feeling discouraged and downhearted about his undercover work because he realises that the police are motivated by homophobia rather than a real desire to find the killer. Or alternately, I can't handle it. Everyone that I run into, they're all me! Pacino looks at the yearbook page of the random professor who got killed at the beginning of the movie. Yeah, Boots with No Pants guy was a professor.
Yes, I'm trying to locate a student, Stuart Richards. He's in the Department of Music and Speech.
We then cut to someone doing weights. Does every gay guy do weights? Then there's a stupid effect that must have escaped from the confines of Tipping the Velvet. Nice singlet, Al Pacino lookalike number 534. Then suddenly, Mr. Creepy Sunglasses shows up. Pacino breaks into Stuart's house, which has a picture of Jesus in it for some reason. Pacino's search revealed that Stuart is also into musical theatre. Because what this film needed was even more stereotypes. Oh my god, his underwear drawer is full of steak knives! Seeing as you saw him in leather before, that's not really much of a shock. Pacino keeps searching and finds out that he was killing people just so he could steal their mail. A sure sign of guilt! Except it turns out that these were actually just letters that Stuart wrote to his dad and never sent. Boring. Pacino follows Stuart onto the bus. It's obvious that Stuart is the killer because he's wearing Jeffrey Dahmer glasses. Well, either that or he's Todd in the shadows. Stuart goes to talk to his dead dad, who looks like the kind of man that Stewie Griffin from Family Guy grew up to be.
I've taken it for granted that you understood, Stewie. You know what you have to do.
From the sounds of it, his dad forced him to be a killer, or something. Later, Al Pacino goes to see Stuart in the park. The two sit on the back of the park bench instead of sitting on the seat like a normal person. Is this what gay men do? Al hits on Stuart and then they go off to do some gay guy things, and I hope you enjoy the sight of Al Pacino's hairy legs.
How big are you?
Party size.
What are you into?
I go anywhere. Hips or lips.
However, Al sees Stuart pulling out a knife and stabs his own doppelganger. But it turns out that Stuart wasn't Mr. Creepy Sunglasses after all, because Richard Simmons got killed while Stuart was in police custody. Al Pacino finally gets to go home to his lady and oh no, don't put on the shades of evil! They'll turn you into a killer, and then I'll be forced to watch Cruising 2, Electric Daikaloo! That was the end? So many questions. Was Al Pacino the killer all along? Did he become a killer because of his experiences? Was it someone else entirely? Was it DaVinci? I hope it wasn't DaVinci. So yes, ladies, gentlemen and gender hipster, that was Cruising. There's something very strange about this movie. For all the endless parade of male flesh and gay sex, we never actually see any men kissing. Cruising seems to reflect the idea that homosexuality is merely confined to sex, and that gay people don't actually fall in love. Do we ever see any gay couples going shopping for groceries or having a quiet night in front of the TV? No, they're always out cruising for sex with one of the 1,000 Al Pacino lookalikes the city has to offer. So was it as bad as the gay activist said? Surprisingly, no. I was expecting to be insulted by this film, and I'm happy to say that it was far less offensive than I anticipated. Yes, it's sleazy and aggressively overtly sexual, and it features a lot of stereotypes, but it never claims to represent all of gay culture. Cruising only represents a particular subset of the LGBT community, the leather and S&M communities. In this situation, it makes sense for the focus to be solely on sex, because men wouldn't really go to those clubs for anything other than a sexual purpose. They know what they're there for, and it's not as if it's the sum total of their life. The character I called Richard Simmons provides a bit of a balance. He's a creative, intelligent man who tries to maintain a steady relationship, and he and Al Pacino's character connect quite well on a friendly level. The main character shows understanding towards gay men, and homophobia in this film was presented in a negative light.
I didn't come on this job to shit-can some guy just 'cause he's gay, Captain.
Even though almost all of the characters are aggressively, frighteningly sexual, Cruising still has more named, developed gay characters than almost any other movie I've seen, and you have to give them credit for that. In retrospect, a lot of people have given this movie credit, considering it documents a lifestyle that no longer exists. The rise of AIDS put a pretty big stop to this kind of sexual hedonism. At the time, Cruising would have come across as a lot more offensive because of the lack of LGBT representation in the mainstream media. Yes, there were art films and there was some level of representation, but gay men were typically depicted as something to laugh at or something to be feared. I can understand how the LGBT community in the late 70s would have been horrified to hear that a movie was going to be made that would exploit the leather subculture as something to be frightened of, and would associate homosexuality with psychopathic killing.
My lover and I were gay bashed by young men who worked in a movie theater. They threatened us. They chased us up out of the theater into the street, and as I was sort of escaping from the hands of one of them, he said to me, "If you saw the movie Cruising, you know what you deserve."
So should you watch it? For the most part, this movie is really monotonous, like M. Butterfly monotonous. It's even got blue-tinged walking around at night scenes by the bucketful. I quickly became incredibly tired of the constant bar scenes. There's only so many asses you can see before it all becomes one giant blur of arse. Disturbingly, in the original cut there was 40 more minutes of footage, mainly of nightclubs and sex acts, and all I can say is thank God for the ratings board, because after 40 more minutes of that I would have gone legitimately insane. The decision to cast dozens of nearly identical men also made it hard to tell who was supposed to be who, which, come to think of it, was probably the point. The killer could have been any one of them. It's an interesting snapshot of the time, but I can't say I really enjoyed it.
Come on, baby, I cannot handle another bust this month.
So that was Cruising, and if you'll excuse me, I've got to go and do something about the lack of leather clothing in my wardrobe. I've only got brown leather, and that's just not on.
Don't switch the blade!